Hello and welcome to DSR Daily. I'm David Rothkopf, joined by Riley Fessler and Minna Stein. I see you're wearing your Reds gear, gearing up for the baseball playoffs. Riley, are you optimistic?
I'm sure not, but crazier things have happened. So
That's true.
I remain somewhat slightly hopeful.
The craziest thing that would have happened is that Minna will watch or even know what we're talking about. Minna, you're not a big baseball fan, are you?
I just learned what a postseason was like 2 minutes before we started recording. So I'm now looking forward to that
Wow.
I know about it.
You are very open mind. You are very open minded, and I do know that you have engaged yourself in support of other sporting pursuits. So, um,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely.
So
That's not a lie.
you don't turn up your nose at everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's get to the news. Let's get to what's going on. Let's get to what's important.
President Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth are set to address over 800 top U.S. military leaders in an unusually large and tightly secured gathering at Marine Corps Base Quantico today. While the official reason for the in-person summit has not been disclosed, Trump described it as a morale-boosting meeting to highlight military strength and unity, though experts and foreign observers note the unprecedented nature of the event. The gathering includes generals, admirals, and senior enlisted officers from global posts, fueling speculation about its true purpose, especially given Hegseth's push to reshape the military's identity and tone through a more aggressive, quote-unquote, warrior ethos.
Yeah, warrior ethos. Look, a lot of the stories we cover here are really, really serious and really important, including some of the ones we're going to cover today. I don't think this falls into that category. I think with this meeting, Pete Hegseth is going to do something no defense secretary has ever done. He's going to establish himself as the most ridiculous man ever to be defense secretary. He is going to be our secretary of ridiculousness. And he's already done it in a bunch of ways. He's a ridiculous person. He has ridiculous personal habits. He's covered with tattoos. He talks about warrior ethos and these other things, while most of his time as Secretary of Defense has been engaged in little catfights with people in and around the building, his inability to manage anything. And recently, I read a story yesterday that he's very, very jittery about his own personal security, and he won't sit in public for very long. He starts looking around and tapping his fingers. And for a guy with warrior ethos, he looks like he has warrior ethos. You see what I did there? Anyway, the point is that this is a ridiculous meeting. It shouldn't be taking place. The people who are going to it are pissed off it's taking place. And if Pete Hegseth, frat boy, and Donald Trump, draft dodger, get up and lecture these people on how to be soldiers, it's not going to go over very well. That looks like where we're headed. It looks like we're headed for a giant pep rally that costs millions and millions of dollars in order for Pete Hegseth to say, get with the program. If you're not with Donald Trump, you're against him. We'll weed you out. We will have purges. If that's what happens, it's going to set us back. Okay, it's going to make us weaker. It's going to make us less prepared. It's going to make more of these people want to go someplace else. It's absurdity, particularly in the midst of all the other stuff that's going on. And I can illustrate that by saying, Riley, what's your first story?
A U.S.-sponsored 20-point ceasefire proposal for the Gaza conflict is currently awaiting a response from Hamas, which was not involved in its negotiation. The plan, endorsed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
So wait a second. So this is a negotiation, a peace negotiation that doesn't involve one of the parties. So
and the terms are essentially accept this or else.
Right. And it was between the United States and Israel, who are allied. They're on one side.
Yeah. So, they said, here's what we want. You can either accept this or be eradicated, essentially.
Yeah, that's I don't know how the Nobel Committee is could deal with that.
Peace in our time. The plan, endorsed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and welcomed by several nations in the region, calls for an immediate ceasefire, a hostage for prisoner exchange, a staged Israeli withdrawal, and the disarmament of Hamas. While the militant group has called the plan completely biased to Israel for including demands it had previously rejected, it faces significant pressure to accept it. Meanwhile, Israeli forces continue to push into Gaza City, ordering residents to evacuate as the conflict nears its 2-year mark.
Yeah, peace-loving Netanyahu yesterday said, either accept this or we'll go in and we will destroy you. And peace-loving Trump said, yeah, we will back them as they destroy you. I will note that not only is this a one-sided approach that didn't involve any negotiation with Hamas and actually ignored some things concluded in past negotiations with Hamas. Nobody in this is representing the interests of the Palestinian people because, of course, Hamas is a terrorist organization. And even though they have a small governing capacity, they've failed at that. And they have been, beaten down into being a shadow of their former selves. So, the issue, the fate of the millions of Palestinians who are affected by this is being left to everybody but them. And does this seem likely to be a lasting ceasefire, even if it's accepted? No, because it doesn't really provide any provisions for the governance of Gaza. Not any one that seems sustainable in any event. So will the pain continue? Yes. Do Trump or Netanyahu care whether the pain continues? No. Would they like to have a brief respite, a brief victory, and then be able to resume this when it suits them? Yes. So very pessimistic, very skeptical about where we are with this. Minna.
Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry requested federal approval to activate up to 1,000 Louisiana National Guard troops, saying the deployment, backed by President Trump and Secretary Hegseth, will help drive down crime and, quote, save lives. The move follows Trump-era precedents of sending troops to cities like Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Portland, drawing legal challenges and local backlash, but Landry framed the mission as a hardline law and order response. In a separate statement, he also warned undocumented immigrants face detention, highlighting the Louisiana lockup facility and vowed tougher enforcement against criminals.
Yeah, look, this is just mimicking the White House, mimicking the positions of the White House, trying to send a message that people are loving what the White House is doing. Tell you who's not loving it is the National Guard. These people have, committed a certain portion of their lives in order to to focus on the defense of the nation, not to being rent-a-cops, not to, doing, litter cleanup as they're doing in Washington, D.C. And this idea that somehow the National Guard's best use is, fighting crime in America's streets changes the character of the Guard dramatically, will refocus the capabilities of the Guard. And it's something they're not suited for. They're not trained as police officers are, and let's admit many of our police officers are not adequately trained. But, a police officer, when they see a crisis situation, they're trained to diffuse the situation, at least theoretically. A soldier, when they see a crisis situation, is trained to crush the crisis situation with force. So this is not a good trend. It is apparently a spreading trend. Again, one of the reports that is associated with this discussion of this meeting that's taking place at Quantico is that in the new defense plan that Hegseth is promulgating or reportedly promulgating, the idea is to shift military resources away from foreign conflicts, including pulling some of them out of places like Europe, but also away from places like Asia, so they can focus on the security threats at our southern border. I think we need to pause and take that in. There is no invasion at our southern border. It's not a national security threat. It's a manufactured problem, and we um, are redirecting the most powerful military in the world to focus on an imaginary threat for political purposes and to leave us more exposed to the very real threats that exist out there. Uh, this is, in many ways, as dangerous as having the Department of Health and Human Services give up science and go after, the concerns of the superstitious, or to shut down the Department of Education, or what we are doing in area by area. Having the Department of the Treasury Department, supporting irresponsible policies regarding finances and the deficit, and promoting irresponsible things like the rapid spread of Bitcoin, um, uh, and supporting things like our crazy tariff policies. Every day now, Trump seems to be out there proposing new tariffs, or handing down tariffs, even though it's against the law, that have to do with completely insane, nutty shit. And that included yesterday when the president of the United States, and Minna, I'm sure you followed this very closely, said he was going to impose 100% tariff on movies made outside of the United States. Like, what? What? I
That'll
mean,
be good for Hollywood.
yeah, I mean, does he know where American, movies are being made, or, that, what the economics of this are, or how do you stop this? Or, I mean, it's just, pick an area, pick a government department, pick a policy, and this government is backing what's destructive. And if you think if I'm exaggerating, what I would encourage you to do is um, contact us via one of the many mechanisms that are available to you, including social media or email, or what is that? Are we using Discord these days, or Slack? What is it, Riley? What do we have out there for members to?
We have both, but I'd say the Discord is probably the place
Yeah,
to be.
yeah. But you could use any of those, and please contact us and tell us what's working. You can, it doesn't have to be a big program. Just tell us one little tiny program that's working. And when we get all these answers in, we'll read them on the air right here on the DSR Daily. What else you got?
With a potential government shutdown hours away, a stalemate persists between Senate Republicans and Democrats over extending Affordable Care Act subsidies. A high-stakes meeting with President Trump failed to produce a deal, leading Senate Republicans to schedule another vote on their short-term funding bill. Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, insisted an agreement on health care concessions must be tied to funding the government, which Republicans call an act of holding the government hostage. The prevailing sense among Republicans is that if a shutdown occurs, public pressure will force Democrats to eventually cave and accept the clean funding bill.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Where is this going to go? I don't know. Is it going to happen or not? I don't know. I'm supposed to be adding value here. The only value I can add is neither side is covering themselves with glory. This shouldn't be happening. The Republicans, are pushing against pretty reasonable requests from the Democrats, that are in the interests of the American people. The Democrats aren't communicating their position terribly well. The president seems to relish the idea of a shutdown. We've had them before. I don't know. This is life in the time of dysfunctional Washington. And this is what you get. we'll see what happens soon.
A federal appeals court has allowed the U.S. Department of Education to move forward with layoffs in its Office for Civil Rights, temporarily pausing an injunction that had blocked the cuts. The Trump administration argued the injunction defied a July Supreme Court ruling that permitted broader education department layoffs, and the appeals court agreed to halt it while legal challenges continue. Though the Supreme Court's ruling did not directly address the narrower injunction for the Civil Rights Office, the appeals panel, while all Biden appointees, sided with the administration despite concerns over the unreasoned nature of the Supreme Court's order.
Yeah, well, the Supreme Court, talk about dysfunctional Washington. But, it is worth noting that wherever there were civil rights offices designed to protect the civil rights of American citizens, which, I don't know, seems like a pretty reasonable thing for the government to do, they're being shut down. Civil rights is being, sort of generally categorized as something that's woke. Of course, when you shut these programs down, who do you hurt? You hurt the people who are discriminated against. Who are the people who are discriminated against? People who have physical challenges, people of color, women. There are all sorts of people who are discriminated against. This is sending us hurtling back into where, we used to be as a country. And that's what they want. It's not just that they're nostalgic for the Confederacy. They want, a segregated, white-dominated, male-dominated, Christian-dominated society. And they're doing everything in their power to enable that to happen, despite guardrails and other things that have been put up over the past couple of hundred years, designed to say, hey, everybody in this democracy has equal rights. Everybody. They don't like the idea, and they're against it, and they're working against it. The courts are enabling them to work against it, and not a few people, millions and millions of people, are going to feel the bite of these terrible policies. Anyway, it's a Tuesday. We've got the week ahead of us. We've got this big meeting at Quantico ahead of us. We've got a government shutdown ahead of us. We've got the future of this initiative, of this proposed ceasefire in the Middle East ahead of us. You notice I don't call it a peace initiative. We've got a lot happening in the world. We'll follow it. We will cover it on our various podcasts. We hope you will follow us on those podcasts. And if you like what we're doing, we hope that you will take a moment, go to the DSRnetwork.com, click on membership, and support us for a few bucks a month, because that's what helps us grow and helps us provide you with expert perspectives, daily content, bonus content, all the stuff that you can get here you can't get anywhere else. Anyway, we'll see you again tomorrow, and thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.